we're joined by KTVU political analyst Brian Sobel. And Brian, thank you so much for being here. Senior advisors had warned President Trump that taking this action, commuting Roger Stone's sentence, would be politically self-destructive. Do you think it will end up being that, politically self-destructive?
I don't know, Heather, whether that's the end result of it. Is anybody surprised that President Trump would commute the sentence of an ally? And there is a difference here between pardoning and the commuting of a sentence. The conviction of Roger Stone will stand because he did not receive a full presidential pardon. What he received was a commuting of a sentence, which means he doesn't go to jail tomorrow, starting tomorrow, or pay a fine, or have to suffer a supervised release program at the end of his prison term.
Right, and as Robert Mueller, was quick to point out, he remains a convicted felon, as you mentioned, the difference between a pardon and a commute. What, though, Brian, about the ethical questions here?
Well, I always look at things through a historical perspective, and pardons and commuting of sentences goes way back. We saw many of them during the Obama administration, during Bush, during Carter, during Clinton. Clinton gave a full presidential pardon to his own brother, Roger, who had been convicted of a cocaine-related situation. Gerald Ford, one of the most famous all-out pardons of a person in history, with the pardon of Richard Milhouse Nixon. So this is a tool that all presidents have used, and some of them are very controversial, but it is the part of the power that's granted by the United States Constitution.
Right, but Brian, talk about the timing of all of this. Here we are in the midst of this pandemic. We are leading up to the election. What do you think about this decision and how it might play? Would you think that it could potentially hurt the president and help Joe Biden?
Possibly, and the idea that he would issue this commuting of the sentence this close to an election is a very risky thing. Again, calling on history. Bill Clinton commuted or pardoned a third of the people he would end up commuting or pardoning on his last day in office. So this by Trump, in a sense, just says, hey, I don't really care what people think. I think Roger Stone was not guilty, and it's all part of this Russia probe. And for that reason, I'm going to take this action. But Heather, to your point, it could hurt him.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we mentioned, the fallout continues there in Washington. I really appreciate the insight. Brian Sobel, always a pleasure.